Good afternoon and welcome to another Super Secret Project sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and how's it going, Sylph Bolt?
Hey, Joe.
Thank you for showing up. And what's up, you crazy savages? Lazy Sunday afternoon. That is what is up. Came back from a long-needed vacation last week. We did a lot of relaxing and feeling a little loose, feeling a little good, feeling like opened myself up a fizzy water. Ooh, there we go. Okay. And today we are going to draw ourselves. I have an opinion of this character. I both like her and hate her at the same time. Do we actually know her last name?
She has a last name, but I am not remembering. I can find it out.
Anyways, Jenna from Star versus the Forces of Evil. I think she's hilarious. I don't want this character anywhere near my life. She because there's moments where she just drove me nuts. I was going like, look, you're really funny. But as somebody who likes, privacy, you drive me crazy.
Jenna Ordonez. Ordonez. She's Filipino.
Ordonez.
Ordonez. Ordonia. She is Filipino.
That's a great name. I've never heard that name before. It is fabulous. So, we're going to get a little Ordonez action going on here today. I don't know if action's the right word. I'm not a very exciting person, so action might just be the wrong word. Alright, as usual, start with a circle. Figure out the rough size of what you need done, because the fact is simple. This is actually one of the most important steps when setting a character down on a page. Why? It don't matter how pretty the hair, eyes, or blah 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 is if it's in the wrong spot and the wrong size. So always, always, always take a moment at the very beginning and figure out how big stuff actually is and where it is sitting on your page. And to be honest, this, if done properly, takes way less than a minute and will, potentially save you your sanity. To me, it's kind of that simple. So, and it's the same with everything else. Is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to figure out roughly how big this and that is. And so, without worrying too much about every little shape, that's why I work in 4H pencil. I'm going to go down real quick. There we go. Chin's a little too big. Bring that in.
You're right, Joe. Proportions do matter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, proportions matter. It's like with pretty much anything when it comes to art and cartooning especially. You have to know the correct sizes before you can break the rules to go from there.
Well, not only that, but it doesn't matter how well any single part is drawn. It doesn't if that wrong part is in the wrong spot. Period. Simple. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're really good at drawing. We'll throw something out there. Boobs. That's fine. You're really good at doing that. It don't matter if they're in the wrong spot. Boobs, for example, on knees, very bad day. Very bad day.
Unless the character is required to have knee boobs, then...
On their knees.
Yeah, then hey, that's
Could be
what
funny.
it is.
Could be funny. I ain't judging. So what I'm basically doing is especially when you're dealing with styles that are not ones that you normally do, you're going to want to go in and kind of put the shapes down real quick. And they are not long enough, so I'm going to elongate these shapes a little bit to make sure this Filipino sociopath is drawn correctly. God, she is funny, but there are moments where I almost started yelling at her on the screen. Like, that was such a good show, but there's moments where you wanted to shake her. Like, leave people alone, you little psychopath. God, she is so funny, but there were moments where legitimately I was going like, I cannot have someone like that in my life. I would probably throw her out the window. I would defenestrate her. Eric's word a day calendar wins again. Okay.
It says, some wrinkles on the nose, one strong nose, but wrong if not needed.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, Jenna, she was one of those characters where I'm still trying to figure out if she grew on me or not. She didn't grow on me. She kind of just, I started tolerating her throughout the series because they toned her down a bit.
Oh, there was a period in the show where I legitimately started hating when she showed up because I was just going like, leave them alone. Like, she was almost a bully. Like, at a couple moments she ceased to be a friend.
Yeah.
She was just like an awful human being, and you're going like, what is wrong with this character? But then, the weird thing was they almost got the idea across that it's almost like she's special needs or something. There's something with her,
I think your baby has special needs.
Special needs. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole like the invasion of privacy.
Oh, that drove me insane.
The taking of property, and they just.
That's what I mean. I think she's like special needs. She's got like some kind of an issue or something. That's not me making fun of special needs people. That's me after a while going like, wait, is this actually a thing? Does she have some kind of thing?
Because I think they showed her appearance like once or twice. Jenna was the reason why Star admitted that she had feelings.
And she did. She was a good character that had, value in the show. It's just there's moments where you wanted to start slapping her. And I don't mean that like in a mean way. I mean slapping her in a loving way. I guess. She just drove me insane at moments. But I also laughed really hard when she would do stuff sometimes, too. So, like, I have a love-hate relationship with this character.
Well, like I said, they toned her down, and they gave her more of a place in the show, aside from the...
Being an obnoxious, crazy person?
Yeah, the obnoxious friend, which we all had at some point in our lives, or have the obnoxious friend.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing. As an adult, a lot of adults have gotten rid of our obnoxious friends. I hate saying that, but it's true. There's some people where at the end of the day you do the math and go, do I want this person around? I mean, they kind of drive me out of my skull and I'm getting nothing in return. And that's what she kind of was. And until finally she was giving back. And then I'm like, okay, I like this character again. But you just hit moments where you were like, stop it! Stop it! And that's on a show with a large number of characters that, had some issues. But I think she frustrated me the most. It's actually why I wanted to draw her, because I wish to explore my feelings about this character.
Jenna gave Marco and Star no privacy whatsoever, especially Star. And the thing is, Star kind of just handled it like a champ. Like, Marco was always the one who's like, what the heck? He was always calling her out, and nothing would be done about it. And I think that was the most frustrating thing about it. Is like, there was no repercussions whatsoever regarding her behavior. And to me, I'm like, no, she needs to be told to stop it and get her little hand smacked every once in a while. Yeah.
Stop it!
No, smack.
No, I'm serious. It's there's moments where I adored when Jenna showed up. And then there's moments where I felt the back of my neck get hot. Like, I was just going like, what is wrong with her? I'm like, leave Marco alone!
But and when there was some point where it was like, she supposedly had a little thing for Marco. They kind of introduced that, but then they kind of just left it off because that's when she, I guess, told she realized that Marvel and Star
Yeah.
were meant to be.
And she didn't
So-
turn into like a stalking psychopath, which was two thumbs up.
Well, she already had one half of that, so didn't want to add too much cream to the butter there. You know.
Well, that's the thing is she is kind of stalkery, and she is kind of sociopath. She's kind of a sociopath. It's just that in that way she was like, "No, they're my friends. I'm gonna back off." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. You're not completely amoral. You're oh, you little deviant." All right, so notice that I am not finishing a whole lot of lines. Right now, I'm just going in, I'm getting the shapes roughly filled in, and where I want to start laying, like, for example, the split in her hair, and I might even go in and go like, okay, yeah, I think it would be a good idea if I figured out roughly where the opening of her cap is. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just like, oh, let me get that in there. So when I start putting other shapes down, I can kind of base it off of that. Because the fact is simple. One, yep, that is not down far enough. Okay. One can easily get a bunch of this stuff like way off, and then suddenly like character doesn't look like the character, or you're like, man, that looks really good, but the hat's in the wrong spot or whatever. And I just hate those moments. Okay, their hair roughly comes out here. Roughly comes out here. Notice how I am not drawing the hair in. I'm just getting silhouettes and a couple very
Get your shapes down.
basic lines in, just so I can get
Get your lines in first. So your placement down.
so I can just get a look at everything. And then once you kind of have it figured out, okay, that's too tall.
Oh.
Yes. Shoot, that girl got some neck on her.
Been rewatching Milo Murphy occasionally.
Oh my God, love
Boom.
that show.
It's like, boom.
Boom! I love Melissa. There is nothing like a really good girl character on a show. And I realize it's probably no big deal for the younger generations, but back in the day, a lot of female characters were just not well put together. And it is just so nice getting these far more interesting, less stereotypical female characters. Because I've always liked the girl characters. It just, God, some of them were just terribly done.
Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you would really know. It's like as a little boy, I liked the female characters, and you'd get a couple really good ones. And I know I'm a ridiculous Thundar fan, but Princess Ariel from Thundar, and that was 1981. That was an especially for that time period. That was an excellent female character, even though she wasn't like, super original, but she was good. And then you got a bunch of like, the Disney afternoon characters where it was like well animated, like well voice acted, but like Webigail from like DuckTales, the original one, not the new one, was a tremendously dull character. I mean, just nothing interesting about her.
And she was, I didn't, well, because DuckTales I didn't watch nearly as much, but I still appreciate it. I was a Rescue Rangers kid, still am. They, with Webigail, they made her almost like the baby sister. in a sense, and she would carry around her little dolly and have tea parties and like pink and had the big bow and everything, which nothing was wrong with that, but that was pretty much the the delineation of the character. That was pretty much who she was. She really didn't have a defining character other than Webby was the girl. And that was, and I know we've said this probably many times, that was one of my problems with a lot of characters in a lot of the 80s shows that had a female character in there, was her token takeaway, or her token being was the girl character.
Yeah, and when it's the girl character, that is such a problem.
Yeah, it wasn't the adventurer or the hero or the protagonist. It was just, it's the girl.
No. 80s Beakley was boring, stereotypical grandmother. The only thing I liked about her is I thought the voice actress was great. But they did nothing interesting really with the character. You're right. Total stereotype. And the thing was is I'm a DuckTales kid. I grew up on that. I love DuckTales. I actually prefer the new DuckTales because of that exact reason. The new Beakley, amazing.
Oh,
The new
she was
Webigail,
so great.
amazing. Matter of fact, everybody on the show severely, improved upon. The only thing that I now really, really love from the original DuckTales is that 4 or 5 part miniseries at the very beginning, where they went hunting for gold. The El Dorado storyline. It's not what it was called, but that was the best one. That was the best the original DuckTales ever did, and from there it was just okay. But I mean, Donald Duck was in the original story, so the original action duo was Donald Duck and Launchpad McQuack, and they were actually pretty good together. And then after that, they didn't bring Donald back for some reason, and they didn't do these, for kids, big sweeping action adventure storyline, admittedly for kids on DuckTales, but it never went back to that, which is a real shame because it was really good.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yep. New Beakley was like a retired Emma Peel from the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that was one of my favorite bits.
Yeah, when they
Was
showed
the flashback
flashbacks.
to her, the flashbacks to her and Scrooge McDuck, in the '60s, basically being the Avengers,
Yeah.
and mixing in other weird British spy shows from the time, The Prisoner. That's where that weird bouncing ball thing came from, and oh my god, I saw that, and I'm going this is wonderful.
These people know what they're doing.
These people know what they are freaking doing. It's not that the original group didn't. It's just back in the day, I think they thought that everyone was kind of dumb. So they were like, okay, well, we'll make it up to a point, which was good, and I like the artwork and a lot of the stuff, but they're like, just don't make it too complicated. There's kids watching. And the new guys are kind of like, no, put stuff in. Kids are watching.
Well, the older stuff, they were trying to do. They were trying to do a lot of the how was it, Carl Barks, or is it, how was it, Barks or Banks? I can never, and I am disappointing the cartoon gods by not remembering that.
Yeah, the original duck
yeah.
guy from Disney.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up so I can know. Carl
Barks.
Barks. Okay, it is Barks. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, but it was they just kind of just they were trying to go with a lot of his stuff, but I think they had to not do too much because he left Disney. Disney and him had a very not so great parting, and so they could only do so much with a lot of the stuff that they had because he probably would have either sued them into oblivion or just kind of they didn't want to do too much with his ideals and designs and all. But the newest one, the 2017 DuckTales, they were like, no, this is an homage to Carl Barks, and we're bringing back some of his original designs and his stories and stuff, and we're going to share these with the world as they should be. So
I just love Della Duck on the Moon. Everything about that was way cooler than I had ever expected. You know, finding out their mom was still alive and they thought she was dead and she's trapped on the moon, and it's this weird survival tale with her alone on the moon. And I just was like watching that going like, this is DuckTales? I felt a little ripped off. I was going like, I could have had this DuckTales when I was a kid. I should have had this DuckTales. I did. I felt a little ripped off. I was like, oh, wow.
Well, no.
Holy crap. Look at this. This is great.
Well, not really, because now you can actually, like, really appreciate it.
Well, yeah, no, but that's the thing is I'm of the opinion that kids can really appreciate stuff, but you have to give them something to appreciate. If you give them something easy to watch, they're going to just kind of suck it down like candy. Why do I know this? Because I watched stupid stuff and I loved it, but I also watched stuff that was way above my age and didn't understand everything, but I wanted to. And I think that's important. And so that's why I'm like, you know, give kids something a little bit more complicated than they're used to, because they'll catch up. That's what kids do. They're designed to do that.
Well, yeah,
they turn into adults after all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, well, I shouldn't say think, but know for a fact, a lot of shows nowadays are doing that. They're realizing that kids are smart and they don't have to be treated like little kids. Plus Glomgold saving the earth.
Glomgold was amazing in this.
Glomgold.
I love how shockingly insane he was. Like the original version of him, he was all right, good voice actor, nice design, blah blah blah.
Just a greedy.
But he was just a greedy villain.
Yeah.
In this version, he was a greedy villain, and there's something deeply, deeply wrong with him. And when they got to the whole who he actually is, you know, and the fact that he isn't Scottish and I love this, he's South African.
Yeah, which he was in the original cartoon.
No, I get that, but you never got that in the original DuckTales.
Yeah.
In this, I'm like watching the screen doing this. What's happening? What's going on? You know, like, then I would put the glasses back on. I'm like, and I would really watch going like, this is really good.
Yeah, that was from the original comics and stuff. Yeah, that he was actually South African.
So funny. I mean, it's just so funny. You kind of get raised on something and you just go like, well, that's what it is, and
it's like
then you see like the new versions of it. It's like when the old school guys get a new version of their show. And if it's legitimately a better version, they go, oh, it's not the original. And they get all like pissy and stuff. And I go like, no, please. Scooby-Doo, Mystery Inc., smoked original Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And I grew up on that, and I still watch Scooby-Doo, Where Are You from time to time. The new version of it, and I realize the new version of it's like 10 years old. I get it. But compared to the original version, there's zero comparison there, you know. And that's what DuckTales was like. I'm going like, oh, this is so much better than the original version.
Well, it's like what you said, being a little kid, and it's like you suck stuff down like candy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what those shows were. It was all
they're like Pez.
Yeah, it was all just shove it down, get it in there, and let kids just kind of bounce off of the crazy happiness, and then like make the parents buy the merch. Like, well, a lot of the stuff that's now within the last like 10 or 15 years, I'm so thankful they're now making shows with lore and with continuity and actual like solid storylines.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's
improved characters.
Yeah, and just not just characters are just there for the sake of being there. They actually have backstory and you feel for them and you root for them and everything. And
Gravity Falls. The fact that Seuss was Hispanic, not a big deal, but was cool. But then when they went to his house, and you met his abuelita, you know, and it was just this like poor Hispanic family that the dad left, and you just got not a ton of the Hispanic, experience, but just enough where it was like he could have just been a hairy white guy.
Yeah.
And they could have just gotten like another stereotypical mom, and they didn't, and yada yada, and it was so much better because of
Yeah,
that.
they actually like put culture.
That's
into
what I'm
stuff.
saying. Yeah.
And not saying that poor Hispanic is being a culture.
Well,
and all that,
no,
simply
but they did poor in a real way. Like you really felt bad for them.
Well, they not poor, but they were definitely
Needing.
lower middle class, and should say they were working class.
Well, yeah, but they were also in a little bit of a bad condition, which is, not terrible, but not great. Like they didn't exactly do a stereotype. They were just like you kind of. It's like I grew up in northern Michigan in the 80s, and the economy up there wasn't the greatest. And I didn't realize I lived under fairly poor conditions for a long time, even though my family was doing pretty good. A lot of people weren't. I was over at a friend's house, and it just never occurred to me. And I was watching that, and I'm going like, that's familiar. And it wasn't like stereotypical, or it wasn't saying, ha ha ha, all Hispanic people are like this. No, it was just like they were not in this optimal position, and it really added to the show.
Well,
And
they were in the position that was good for them at the time. And he was a handyman, and he was taking care of his abuelita and stuff. And I mean, because they never really said what happened to his mom, but yeah, we know what happened to his dad and all. Or I should say, yeah, what didn't happen to him.
like there was some legitimately sad stuff there in a character that's normally the slapstick funny guy on the show. And you kind of got this sort of bittersweet moments with him, which was, and then you go, oh my God, he smiles through this. And I'm going like, that's why he's a good character. You're like, wow.
It's like it's almost like him and Launchpad from the 2017 were kind of almost cut from the same cloth in a sense. Just happy-go-lucky guys. Like,
Regardless of
doing their
not all the
thing.
great stuff
Yeah.
going on.
I think one of my favorite Seuss moments, actually, was from his grandmother when they were talking about his abuelito, his grandfather, and he's like, I'm sure he's up on heaven smiling down at us, and then his abuelita, no, and he just looks down. No, he's not.
Oh, she was so good. I loved that character. Mystery Inc. had depth. It was scary. Yes, it was. They changed the dynamic of the team and how history was for Coolsville. Oh, yeah, everything about that show was stunning. As a matter of fact, I will watch a lot of stuff that's kind of scary or this or that. Usually I see stuff coming or stuff doesn't get me because it's usually like I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty good at seeing things coming. There was a few moments in Mystery Inc. where I went, what? I just stuff came out of left field, but wasn't like a Deus Ex Machina. It was like a legitimate, no, it built up to it. I just didn't see it coming. And you just hit these moments in Mystery Inc. that are like, wow. Like my favorite one where I paused and went, ooh, is the end of the one episode where Scooby-Doo's girlfriend is in the hospital, which is in a way funny enough. Not that she was in a hospital, but she was in a human hospital.
Yeah.
And she is a dog that does not talk. And at the very end of it, he's like laying on the bed, and then she sits up and goes, what was the line? Nibiru is coming. And then just eyes roll up and just loses consciousness and falls back on the pillow. And Scooby-Doo just sits up and goes like that, and the credits rolled. And I was like, what is happening on this show? That is so good. And so the thing about Star versus the Forces of Evil is they had a few moments. Not exactly like that, but moments where I went, wait, are they doing this? And my favorite period on the show was, get this line figured out, okay, was the fact that the monsters weren't evil, and the humans that showed up kind of sort of did what the European colonizers did to the Native Americans.
Yep.
and you're going like, wow, and they have this sort of like admission that nobody knows what to do about it, which isn't this like, everything's gonna be great if everyone says they love you. No, in this one they were going like, I don't know what to do about that. That's awful. And so like the monsters and the humans that figured it out are just kind of moving forward together, trying to figure out what to do about it. But there's not a lot they can do about it. So
Just gotta live their life and just deal with it.
they just have to deal with it.
And yeah, they have to live out. Well, no, we're really not evil. We're not savages. We just
Want to raise our kids.
want to live in peace.
Eat the corn you stole from us. Kind of a thing. I was like, I really enjoyed a lot of Star versus the Forces of Evil. I mostly laughed really hard, but I appreciated a lot of the creative decisions that were atypical. Stuff like, oh, the humans aren't really totally perfectly heroic, and the monsters most certainly aren't villains. Some of them are. But most of them are just like this big growling thing that's just like it doesn't realize it's terrifying, and and then humans attack it and it doesn't know what to do, so it kind of defends itself and bad situations happen. And there was a lot about that I liked. They're just like, oh, that's actually a lot more realistic in so many ways, even though it was a silly cartoon that did some really wild stuff.
Joe made a quick comment. Says like Freddy talking about on Mystery Inc. Like Freddy not knowing who his real parents were,
That
and
was
the guy
good.
who he called father was unmasked to be the guy who stole him. Yeah.
Yeah, there was just some stuff on that show, and you find out that his parents are not good people.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think with Mystery Inc. Just going back to that for a quick second. For me, and because I had been seeing it on I remember seeing it on being advertised and all that stuff, and I was like, all right, let's see how good it is. And I got a chance to sit down and just watch it at one point, and I was absolutely amazed because the one that it was the second or third episode, the Gator family.
I think that's second.
Yeah, the second episode.
I think that's second episode.
And when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, the animation's really well done. It's really nice. And the part where they go into the hotel and Scooby looks at the sign.
That was so good.
And I wish I could remember what the actual sign said, but when he looked at it,
I believe it just said
it was
something about sundries. It was normal hotel stuff.
Yeah, but then when he looked at it, the neon lights flickered on and off, and it just said "the dog dies."
Yeah, the dog dies.
And he was just like, "Holy crap!" And he like goes to like grab Shaggy, and Shaggy's like, "What?" And he points, and
it's the
sign
normal
is-
sundries,
the sign is
blah
back,
blah
is
blah.
back normal. And I was like, wow, because first I was impressed with the fact that they were saying like somebody's gonna die. I was like, oh, you don't usually see that at that in a cartoon. And then the part that really got me was when they were in in the rooms, and one of the gator creatures comes in, and all the lights go out, and all you see is them getting I think it's like Daphne and Freddy, because they got put in a separate room, and they were getting chased in this dark room, and it was just getting lit up by the by the hotel sign that was blinking red. And so like every 3
So
seconds
crazy.
you see and you just see them like chaos. It go dark. You hear noises and screaming. 3 seconds where it goes red. You just see like a giant gator mouth snapping. I was like,
It
this
was
is
good.
absolutely crazy. I was just like, holy crap! Because I was like that entire scene. I don't think it was probably like 10 or 15 seconds. Was probably some of the best storytelling and animation I had seen in a while at that time. I was like, wow, holy crap. And
They
so
just did a lot of stuff on that show that was just like, why not? There's no reason to not do this. There's no reason to not make interesting decisions.
Yeah, actually.
Star versus the Forces of Evil did it, and but that's what I'm saying is, I am loving where this is going. It is almost as if we are creating entertainment for children that is better quality entertainment than the stuff the adults are getting, which is sort of the same crap over and over again. But kids, even though you get stuff that it is in some ways very silly and immature and blah blah blah, which by the way I love, I'm not judging, but in other ways is like, well, you're really actually doing something interesting with this. You're trying a different dynamic. You're blah blah blah, and I really mean this. Most of the time, I firmly believe the animated stuff. Finally, America's catching up to Japan, but the animated stuff is actually more mature and interesting and creative than a lot of the live action stuff. It just is. Not everything, but on average, I think so.
It just says, I'm happy that Velma was talking after the one founding member of the original Mystery Inc., despite the fact that if people found out that she was more than just a DJ, she would go to jail. Yeah, Angel.
Yeah, Angel was so good.
Yeah, which was, again, I was impressed with the fact that even though I was sad that she died, the fact that they made a character actually, I was like, oh wow, they actually killed off a main character.
Well, what I loved was I got this crazy scenario of what roughly, and I know that's not exactly the situation, but it felt essentially like an insane escaped Nazi mad scientist on an island with all that crazy stuff going on, and the Stompa robots, and the fact that they found like the dried body and yada yada, and I'm just going like, I mean, really, I was just going, this is one of the best shows I've ever seen. You're hitting all the stuff for me personally, so I get that, that's me saying it for my sake.
Well, I mean, it's like you were saying, stuff is finally being made. It's not just for kids, not just for adults. It was being made for general entertainment for all ages. And it's like it's like people like us were finally telling the stories we wanted to see. And I'm like, that's all we wanted. We didn't want to be talked down to. We didn't want to be made fun of. We just wanted to have good stories told to us. And that's what's happening now. Thank goodness. Well, I should say now within the past 10 or 15 years. And it's like, yay! Or I should say at this point 20 years now.
Yeah, it's starting. We're finally hitting a nice long period in time where we're starting to sound crazy finally for being surprised at this stuff. But you got to keep in mind, half of my life was spent wanting there to be more, which is why I went to anime and stuff. Because as much as I loved a lot of American shows, and I did, I loved Thundar and yada yada, but you get to a point where you're going like, really, we're not going to take this any further? That's where we're going to stop thinking, huh? And that's me as a 13, 14-year-old thinking that. And I wasn't a bright kid. So yeah, I am so glad we're now getting really interesting things happening.
Yeah, we're finally getting fun shows and different stuff, and not just the typical cookie cutter constant shows that was like it's a clone off of another clone off of another clone. I mean, we can see a lot of the images and a lot of the stuff that's been out there, but I mean, it's nothing's new under the sun. But the fact that people are now attempting just to do different stuff with the stuff that they're given, I mean, Star was absolutely hilarious in the fact that
I laughed a lot at that show.
And I mean, we can owe a lot of this stuff with like Star to Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
So so it's like finally Disney actually took a chance and just said, hey, let's actually get some different stuff. So.
Well, the thing is the stuff they were doing and is being done isn't weird. It's just like, we're not scared to show the fact that, kids' parents are still having kids, so therefore, they're having sex. And they're not showing it, but they're most certainly going like, Marco's mom and dad was clearly attracted to each other, and then boom, there was a new baby sister. Still can't get over the joke of everyone thinking that he knocked Star up and they're walking around with their daughter. Oh my God. Such a funny show. The fact that actually was being done, in the old days, it would have never happened. That's why I'm like so happy things have changed.
Wouldn't have ever seen that.
I saw that. I was laughing so hard.
After school special or something.
Yeah, there'd be an after school special about being ashamed of your penis. And, God, the 80s sucked. The 80s was great in some ways. In other ways, you were like, Nancy Reagan, get off my freaking screen. I don't care. I don't care what you think. Stop telling me to do things.
Nancy.
No offense to Nancy Reagan. I just don't know what she was doing on my screen.
She was being a hypocrite. Good old throat goat Nancy Reagan.
good for her. We got to be a champion at everything. Or we got to be a champion at something. There we go. That's right.
All right, Joe says, when I first saw Star, I hated it because it was a bit over the top, but loved Gravity Falls. Yeah, with Star, I had watched a couple of episodes at first, and it just didn't catch me. I laughed because it was the episode with with Marco and his tentacle arm, and so that joke made me laugh, especially the the one girl.
Oh my God!
The
She wanted the tentacle as her boyfriend,
yeah.
And then the fanboy in the background going, "Oh my God!" Oh my God! There's jokes on there that little kids just cannot understand, and I was laughing so hard so many times at Star.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, and literally asking this in a serious manner and not being gross or anything about it, but it's like, is tentacle anime still a thing now?
Oh, I'm. Tentacle, there was a reason why that existed out of Japan in the first place,
well, yeah,
and those
yeah.
reasons are still there. So
yeah, but I think nowadays, I think because of just from what I've seen, I don't go searching for it, but it's out there.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Not into fresh seafood?
No, not really.
Okay.
Allergic. But it's like, I think nowadays, like, I've seen more I guess human-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, human stuff, and so it's like I don't think the whole tentacle thing it's not as out there anymore, because it's like, no, there's no longer a reason, because even though the censorship is still there, there really isn't a reason for stand-ins anymore, because guess what? People have sex, apparently.
Well, no, that's not why the tentacle stuff existed.
Yeah, I know why it does, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, nowadays it's kind of silly to even, aside from the fact that it's a genre in itself, there really doesn't need to be that anymore. But anyway, I digress.
I was about to say, you're really concentrating on this.
Yeah, the joke from Star. But yeah, that was the first episode I had saw, and I was laughing at that joke, and of course when Marco wakes up and his tentacle is just like slamming the cereal and everything, he's just with that blank look on his face. That made me laugh pretty good. He's just trying to eat his breakfast, and this thing is just messing up everything and hitting the cereal box. The milk is flying everywhere, and he's just just the look on his face was just amazing. And I think after that, like, I watched it. I think I saw like another part of another episode. It just didn't catch me, and then after that, we just didn't have Disney Channel anymore because they took it off of our cable package, so I never got a chance to see it. And so yeah, we finally got a chance to sit down and watch it after the recommendation from several friends. And
well, it was on my ever-expanding list of shows for streaming, and finally I was just like, I feel like a cartoon. I feel like something new. And I just went, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and just turned it on, and I was just slammed by color and mass insanity and yada yada, and I just went, second episode, like it wasn't even a second thought. I was like, slap me with another one, Ike.
Yeah, I think we even said, we're like, this is insane.
It was. I remember the first couple times watching this, my mouth just hanging open, like, what in God's name? And then when it dawned on me, which it didn't take long, I think it was first or second episode, I don't remember when, I went, oh my God, it's an American Magical Girl series. Yeah. But people can make that argument about American shows. I'm like, no, this is intentionally an American Magical Girl series. I'm like, finally, I wanted to see what this would look like, Yeah,
the creator, she was a huge anime fan. She loved Sailor Moon, and I think I even said this before on our last super secret project sketch, when she was talking about the original concept of the show was going to be that they were going to be second graders, and the girl character was a huge Sailor Moon fan or Magical Girl fan, and Magical Girl fan, and the boy that was her friend, or kind of her nemesis of the class, was a huge DBZ fan. and so they were going to have like
Yep.
a battle going on back and forth between the two of them.
Which is actually a solid idea, but it is not as good as Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Yeah.
The simple fact that you couldn't even tell exactly who the bad guy was half the time. There were clear problems, there were clear protagonists and antagonists, but not a muhaha devil bad guy character.
Right.
Just issues.
Yeah.
And that is so good.
Yeah, and I actually enjoy that because normally I like being able to know, okay, bad guy, good guy, and I like a little bit of mystery here and there and stuff, but for the most part I like knowing who am I rooting for, who am I not rooting for, who am I booing and hissing at and all that. And I also like a good villain and stuff too. But this one, yeah, they made it so ambiguous as to who the bad guys were, who the bad guys were. Because like, wait, am I supposed to be rooting for these guys? And yeah, they did a few left turns, which I was just like, right on, good for y'all for like doing like throwing in a good old fashioned red herring on that. Because
Well, the fact that Ludo wasn't. He was clearly the original major bad guy.
right.
But then he didn't stop. He fixed himself, essentially. It wasn't. I mean, the main characters kind of defeated him and stuff. But ultimately speaking, he kind of fixed himself. And that's so much more interesting, and it shouldn't happen all the time. You want to see the hero, knuckle the villain sometimes. I mean, that's just, satisfying sometimes. But it was cool seeing this whole, like, oh, where's this going? Oh, he's trying to be a villain still, and oh, he's getting stronger, and oh, he's probably going to become much stronger and become the major threat, and and then you get to a point where like, wait a minute, he's not the major villain.
And they did that with several of them. I mean, between him, Toffee.
And Toffee was
That was just a weird one.
yeah, he was clearly a major bad guy,
Yeah.
but he wasn't the major bad guy. They kept kind of teasing you like, no, this is the major bad guy. Nerd. Nope, here's the major bad guy. Nerd. And you're like, you even got the last like 3 or 4 episodes, you're like, who's the major bad guy? Like, you're just like...
Yeah, and for me, I was getting a little exhausted because I was like, I just want to see the big bad fight. And it's like, for them just to hold out for so long, I got a little, bad guy fatigue.
You got bad guy fatigue.
Yeah,
That's
it
good.
was just like, okay, so many people were supposed to be bad guys, but they're all not. And that was like one of my only complaints about the show, where I'm just like, okay, there's so many gray area characters, and I'm just like, I'm getting, my eyes are getting tired because of all the gray. And to put it in a descriptor like that. But I still enjoyed it. It was just like, okay. I'm getting a little tired of being on the middle ground here. I need to either jump or sink. Give me one. Yeah, but again, no complaints.
Great show.
Yeah, a good show. Just very minor complaints, and yeah. I think one of my other complaints was the constant who likes who romance, everyone jumping around liking each other kind of thing. And again, that's a personal complaint because I've never cared for that stuff anyway, and that seems to be the extent of a lot of teen drama stuff, because friend groups and friends like each other and friends date each other and all that weird stuff. I think never had that happen, so I have no idea, but that's one trope I just never really cared for. And I love romance stuff. When it's done right, it's really cute and fun and all. But to me, I think I was getting a little fatigued over. Now she likes this person. Now they like this person. Now they like this person. Now they're gonna go with this person. I know it was all thrown in for the sake of the teen drama and the pre-tween drama and stuff like that. But it was also kind of like, okay. Can I get some more laser puppies?
I need 15% more laser puppies.
I think the best descriptor was there. Somebody said like a lot of these shows are really fun because it seems like it's just a lot of the Tumblr kids are now writing the scripts on these. I'm like, I can see that, yeah. Welcome to my life journal. All right.
Not bad. Not as good as Princess Tardina over here, but
Well, Jen is gonna get her wish now. Said Jen is gonna get her wish now when you do the clothes.
oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, it's got a little bit of extra kink there with the whole Tardina, Princess Tardina.
Gotta make her feel pretty.
As a young man, I wish to feel pretty. Or something. I'm neither of the, well, outside of the man part, I'm none of those things. So
Hey, I think you're pretty.
you're allowed to.
I should hope so.
Boom. Okay. So, because we got to do the thing, and
Make our money somehow.
personally, I don't think it's working because no one has signed up. But I'm going to give her a shot, right?
Keep doing it.
All right. Inhale. Do you want a schedule of upcoming episodes and links to missed episodes sent to your email? Then go to supersecretprojectx.com/ericart and sign up for my newsletter at the bottom of the page. And we are back. There we go. The transition took a little longer than I was hoping. Okay.
It's just like the inhale, soft. Do you a job?
Oh! All right. As is tradition. when two characters face each other in my sketchbook, to be sealed, not hermetically, but sealed nonetheless, together for eternity. That's right. And you're right. These two deserve each other. At least the player 2 princess version of Marco. Because she's a little boyish, isn't she? This is kind of a great combination, actually. It's kind of a great combination. Anyways, when two characters face each other, sealed for eternity in my sketchbook, they shalleth lippeth, locketh lippeths forever. There we go. Okay, needed to make sure that was sealed nice and tight.
Burp it for
Yes. It worked for me. It worketh for me too. That was what I think we should call kissing the Tardina. I guess.
You can get one of those for $20 down on the right street.
Better. Because you shouldn't get charged more than $20 for that.
Well, it depends on who's working that night.
That's true. All right. Anywho, you all have yourself a good week. We will catch you later.
Do we have any idea what's happening next round?
I have no idea yet. I haven't done my newsletter. Dear God, someone sign up for my newsletter. Which I have to get that put together here.
Right on.
Is it this weekend or next weekend? Soonish. I'm doing it soon.